two levels of problems which I would like to address in this election. First, bread and butter issues, rising cost of living as a result of higher food prices elsewhere, as a result of higher oil prices, which is reflected in transportation costs for cars, buses, and electricity. 我的眼镜哪里啊？在皮箱里。So, how do we meet them? So, we have a growth and share package to help Singaporeans cope with rising costs. We give them growth dividends, workfare bonuses, workfare special bonuses, U-Save rebates. And I think I prepared some papers, some figures. You've given them so you know. These are the measures we can take to help alleviate or reduce the pressures on people over the higher cost of living. And I also have given tables of workfare income supplements for different categories of lower wage workers. So you know how much they're giving out. There are a few $1,000 per person, and it's only possible because we have a capable government, and most important, we have a capable finance minister and a MAS minister, MAS executive CEO. But after the financial crisis, last year we grew 14.4%. So we have the cash to give this growth package and share. Without that, there would be very little to share. We'll go back and raid our reserves. These are problems that people face, which we try our best to empathize with and to try and help them resolve. But I think at the same time, we have to consider the vision for Singapore, the kind of Singapore that we want. Now, when I was in office in the 1950s and 60s, the kind of Singapore I wanted was a first world Singapore when we were in the third world. Now we are in the first world. If you ask me what is it I want, I would say I want more arts, more culture, more drama, but that's a man in his 80s. So the young people have got to express what they want through the younger MPs and the younger representatives, of whom we have quite a few in their 30s and early 40s. And it is they who will decide, the vision for Singapore that they would like. They may prefer to have more material well-being, whereas I think everybody's got a home, everybody's got a job. In fact, we have more jobs than we have people willing to work. So we've had to bring in foreign workers. Well, at the election time, opposition candidates say the foreign workers take away jobs from us. That's utter rubbish. We are not here to look after the welfare of foreign workers. We are here to look after the welfare of Singaporeans. And the foreign workers are necessary to bring the jobs here, because then investors can start their production swiftly and make profits, then because you have 10-20% skilled workers for foreigners, 80-90% of Singaporeans are employed. Have you any questions?
Could you share with us why you
Where are you from?
Lee Kuan from Zaobao. Why did you make this visit to Radin Mas today?
Well, Radin Mas used to be in my GRC, but we had to create a number of single constituencies, and Sam Tan has been looking after Radin Mas and looking after it well, and I think he will withstand any contest in Radin Mas.
Mr. Lee, Imelda from Chinese Asia.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to the opposition for saying that a lot of the problems that Singaporeans face with regards to income gap, with regards to cost of living, is the result of the PAP's policies?
The PAP's policies is the rising tide. All boats have risen, but not equally. It depends upon your ability, it depends upon your diligence, it depends upon your educational standards. And the income gap must widen because worldwide it is widening. Once China and India entered the market, at the lower end, the unskilled jobs, you have hundreds of millions competing for the jobs. So all those factories using large numbers of unskilled workers have moved to Vietnam, have moved to China, have moved to India. So there are less low-paying jobs in Singapore, and we just have to upgrade our workers so that they can go on to middle-level jobs. It's part of the constant change that the world is going through.
Fahmi from Berita Harian,
Yeah.
the Malay paper. Why do you think is it crucial for the Malays to support the PAP?
For the same reason that the Chinese and the Indians should support the PAP. You want a good government. You want a government that's incompetent, incapable, that can talk a lot but cannot produce, cannot bring results. And we have never discriminated against Malays. In fact, we have many affirmative actions for the Malays. No, let him finish. I've not carried out a poll. I am not really qualified to answer that, but I would think it is sufficiently substantial to carry us through. Because it makes no sense for the Malays to go and vote for an opposition that cannot form the government and cannot look after you.
Chuan Wei Boom from the Straits Times. And just now you talked about your vision for Singapore and younger Singaporeans' vision with this different.
Yeah.
The last few elections have shown quite consistently that 1/3 of the population desires an elected opposition. And this is also an issue that is emerging today. I'd like to hear your response to that.
Well, it is a footloose generation that hasn't experienced the past and believes that Singapore is now an aeroplane that's flying safely and can be an autopilot and anybody can take over. But I don't happen to believe that. I think we'll run into all kinds of bad weather and we need capable people in charge. What does the opposition say? Loh Tak Yang, he wants to be the co-driver. What is it does he really want? He wants to take over. So I asked him, who's going to be his finance minister? Who's going to be his defense minister? Who's going to be his minister for trade and industry, his foreign minister? And who is his prime minister? But that's his ambition. It's not just to win one GRC. Let's have no hypocrisy about this. Every political party sets out to win and win a majority. And they are setting out from a single constituency to a GRC and then to expand to more GRCs and to take over. Now it's up to you to decide whether you think they're capable of running Singapore.
Okay.
No, let her finish.
I'm Francis from the Straits Times. I was wondering whether you care to comment. Yesterday you said that Mr. Liew Tak Gan is quite a good MP. I was just wondering if you comment on the quality of opposition this time around compared to other elections. Are they better? Do you see an improvement? Do you see...
No, in what sense? Is he better?
Yes, the quality of the opposition in general. I think we have several new opposition candidates coming through.
Well, the fact that we have more better educated opposition candidates really reflects on our successful education policies. In other words, we have been able to get a whole mass of people educated up to tertiary levels, either colleges or universities. So it's part of the process of change. And we welcome that. I mean, it's better to have educated and intelligent opposition than to have an uneducated and ignorant one.
Can I just pursue on that point? Now there seems to be a slight contradiction between what you just said about, that it's a good thing to have more educated opposition, and yet at the same time you're saying that younger voters who want more elected opposition want Singapore to go on autopilot.
No, there's no contradiction. One is a matter of fact. But I'm not saying that because the opposition is better educated, it is more capable than the government.
What is their role?
Sorry?
So what can be their role in Singapore politics?
Their role is to keep on growing and getting people who can become Prime Minister, Defense Minister, Finance Minister, Foreign Minister, and a whole host of. The day they can do that, then they are a credible opposition. You must have a shadow minister. If you watch the British Parliament, there's always a shadow cabinet on the opposition benches. You ask them, where is the shadow cabinet?
The Workers' Party, Mr. Lau, has said that, well, right now they don't even have a driving license, and one of his arguments...
But if he hasn't got a driving license, what's he trying to do? To slap the driver and cause an accident?
He's trying to say that if the Workers' Party is able to win a GRC, then he would have, more a foothold, if you like, in Parliament.
No.
Then they may be able to...
I have already said, it's not just to win a GRC, it is to win many GRCs and for him to take over the steering wheel. And you ask yourself, can he do it? Where is his shadow cabinet?
May I just ask for this election, because all eyes are on alternate GRC. In the event that the PAP loses alternate GRC, what will be your personal response, and how do you think the PAP should respond?
Well, I think if the people of our unit want to vote for one MP, Liew Tak Gan, one non-constituency MP, one person who is a celebrity but away for 30 years, and two unknowns, minorities, as against two ministers, one senior parsec, one future parliament speaker. Well, it's their choice. And I would say they have 5 years to live and repent.
How should the PAP respond if that were to happen?
We accept the verdict of the people, but they must also accept the consequences of their actions. You must expect the PAP to look after PAP constituencies first. Do you think that there is a strong opposition which you think can take over Singapore?
Not at this moment.
Well, that answers your point. What is the point of having an opposition that's not capable of taking over and can only say, I'll slap the driver when he's sleepy? No, the very fact that he uses this metaphor reflects on his mental outlook. You're from? Well, would you say that if you were the opposition candidate? That you want to sit by the driver or behind the driver and direct him.
That's why he's not in politics.
That's why you are not in politics.
I mean, when I was in the army, I mean, vehicle commander has always got to look after the driver.
Robin from the Straits Times. So given this is your 14th election now, what is your sense of how the PAP will do in this election? How do you think the ground will vote?
I think there's no question that we will not lose. I mean, you can see how the campaign is going. The only hot seat is Aljunied. And as I've said, if Aljunied decides to go that way, well, Aljunied has 5 years to live and repent.
Would you consider it a big setback for the PAP?
No, I don't really. Losing one GRC does not mean the end of the world. And we'll try to regain it after 5 years. But they would have made an inroad into a GRC and they will try to make more inroads. Because their intention is not one GRC. Every opposition party wants to capture more GRCs and form the government. They want to take over the driving seat. Let's not pretend that it's just to form an opposition and to keep the government on its toes. It is to form the opposition and to trip the government up. You have seen Low Jia Kiang in action.
会再请你，就是希望你用华语说一次，说你今天想要传达的讯息，就是关于生活费的这方面的问题。
我们很关心，生活费现在提高了，所以我们用各种各样的办法减轻人民的负担。我们有一个增长共享的。通货膨胀的增长共享的配套，然后我们有就业奖励、华丰，然后有主物杂费、汇口等等，那些帮助人民生活费上涨，解决民生的问题。